What's going on, YouTube? We are back here at Blitz Games. We are going to be actually doing something new. We're going to be reviewing a few games that I played recently and going turn by turn, playing them at a sped up time frame, but then pausing at key times and kind of explaining what my mindset is going into these games. So first, I'm going to go over to the deck. If you don't want to know about the deck, feel free to skip ahead to the gameplay. But for those of you that want to know about the deck, I call it Ramp Swarm. It is off meta, so you won't see many decks like this. I don't think, at least I haven't run into them. But we are running Sapphire along with Amber. Our 1-drops are going to be the Queen along with Pawpsicle. Then our 2-drops are Simba. We have the Bare Necessities, and we have Lantern. Then for the 3-drops, we have Pongo, Judy Hops, and Mickey Mouse. For 4-drops, we have Rapunzel, we have Hiram Flaversham, and Sisu the Divine Water Dragon. Our 5-drops are Maximus and the Queen, along with Cogsworth. And then we have our 2 big guys. We have Stitch and we have Hades. So the point of this deck is to ramp early. So we're going to try to, at least I like to have Lantern in my opening hand or Mickey Mouse, one of the two. If I don't, I try to search for it the best that I can. That way we can try to get to our 4-drops and our 5-drops as quickly as possible. So the point is to try to a turn 3 Sisu or a turn 4 Cogsworth, or both, are very helpful to us. We want to draw as many cards as we can to keep our hand full. So how we can do that in this deck, we have Sisu. Whenever she quests, we look at the top 2 cards and then can choose one and put in our hand, which if we are able to get Sisu going, she is a very big advantage because we can look at, again, we can look at 2 cards, pick one. And the problem with Sisu is if she gets running too slowly, she's an easy target for some of our meta picks to wipe her off the board, especially if you're playing against Steel or Ruby. But if we're able to get her down on turn 3, she's much harder to deal with, and we can usually get 1 or 2 quests off with her. Not only does she quest for 2, but gets us that card on top of it. In addition to her, we also have Hiram Flaversham, which goes along with our Pawpsicle and Lantern, which he lets us draw 2 cards by banishing an item. And then we also have the Carefree Surfer Stitch. So hopefully we're hoping to get him down by turn 6 at the latest. And as long as we have 2 other characters, we can draw 2 cards. And then later in the game, if we have Pongo out, he also lets us draw a card as long as we reveal a character card, which if you notice, we only have 12 cards that are not characters, so we have a pretty good shot at drawing a character with Pongo to keep our hand full. Now, Cogsworth protects us greatly against a lot of the threats from steal and damage. It lets us kind of control the board a little bit better, make better trades. And then we have Hades, which can take care of big targets on the board. And the big one here, the Bare Necessities, that lets us take care of that nasty board wipe that Ruby has, in addition to Jafar decks running a whole new world, or any other spells that we might want to get rid of. And I also added in Judy Hops as an option to get rid of opposing items, especially now that we see that big 7-drop item that I won't name. But let's go ahead and get into the gameplay. Alright, so here we have our first matchup. We're going to be going against Ruby Amethyst, the clear meta from after the second set and still very prominent right now. So we'll go ahead and pause it here. So we have our opening hand, and notice we're going first. So I take a look at this. I do like the Lantern, and I like to see Mickey Mouse in my opening hand along with Sisu. So we can go ahead and I'll likely get rid of the Queen, Maximus, and both Stitches. That way we can try to draw maybe another 1-drop, 2-drop, something of that nature. So there's the 2 Stitches, the Maximus, the Queen. That's exactly what we'll do. So like I said before, we want to get that Lantern or Mickey Mouse, ramp it out, and draw that Sisu. Get that out quickly. We did get a Flaversham, which is nice for after. And then Hades, not the greatest in our starting hand, but we'll take it for later in the game. Again, we'll hope to draw something, but we do have plenty to play here. And Pawpsicle draws us an extra card. Now we have 2 Flavershams in our hand, so we can go ahead and ink 1, since we do not need 2 Flavershams in this deck. Go ahead and see what the opponent does. So they go ahead and ink their goat and don't play anything for turn 1. Again, ink that Flaversham. Get out our Lantern. That way, again, we can get out that turn 3 Sisu and put pressure on them by keeping our hand full and drawing cards. They drop their Pinocchio. We can go ahead and ink that Queen that we just drew. We don't need that. Get out that Sisu. So now we have a 2-4 on board. They don't really have much to deal with. Now they do have Madame Mim Fox in their deck. Yeah, that is a good thing to do always, is to kind of know what the opposing deck does. They get their Madame Mim Snake down, so they have a 3-3. Return that Pinocchio. We got to keep that in mind. Go ahead and ink the Judy Hops. So we can go ahead and Lantern. Get down our Flaversham. Now always, even though, right there, I'll pause it for a second. Even though we had 4 ink to play Flaversham, we always want to use the Lantern when we can, just in case we draw something like a Pawpsicle or something that the Lantern wouldn't be able to help play. Now we do have that ink available. I do make that mistake sometimes, but always good to keep in mind. Now we did draw a Queen, which could have played with the Lantern anyway, so it didn't matter there, but there are situations where it will matter. And then the big thing there, we just got the Bare Necessities, which we want to save just before turn 7 on their turn, if we can. That way we can try to get rid of that board wipe against this blue-purple deck. We got another Bare Necessities. We don't necessarily need 2, but we can go ahead and request a second time with Sisu. Again, Sisu is so good if we're able to get her going. We're already up to 4 lore just solely from her, and we were able to draw 2 cards with her. So card advantage as well as big lore. That's what I like about Sisu, and I really don't see her run very much. We can go ahead and get our Mickey Mouse out. Now pause it here again. So now we have a pretty clear advantage. We are all the way up to 6 lore. They're only at, I believe, 3. And then they have 5 cards in hand, about to be 6. We still have 4 cards in hand, but a clear board advantage. And next turn, we can go ahead and drop this Stitch. And we still don't have to worry about that board wipe because they're not close to that 7 ink spot. They're up to 5, so we still have another turn. That Maui, they did go after our Flaversham instead of Sisu. I was surprised there. Personally, I know Flaversham is a pretty big threat, but I think Sisu is a bigger threat. And we're able to take out that Maui with the Hades. And then go ahead and take out that Be Prepared. See, that's huge. You know that they were planning on playing that next turn to wipe our board. Now it's gone, unless they happen to top deck another one. We can go ahead and ink Simba. They are able to play Madame Medusa, get rid of one of our characters. They choose Pongo. But again, pause it here. So we're up 7-3 here. We have still clear board control. We can quest for 5, where they can only quest for 2. Our characters are a little bit stronger, and we have more cards in hand. So, pretty big advantage right now, which is wonderful. And then we happen to draw into another Flaversham, which can help us later. Stitch lets us draw 2 more cards. So we have 3 characters out, and then we're able to get another Cogsworth with our Sisu. So we're in a pretty dominating position right now against this Ruby Amethyst deck. Go ahead and Bare Necessities again. They don't have anything this time, but it's nice just to be able to see their hand. They're able to play that Madame Medusa. Now, that's the reason that I love Stitch so much. Stitch, because he has 4 power, isn't able to be targeted by Madame Medusa. Hades, unfortunately, is, but because Hades got chosen, we're still able to keep that Sisu out. Now, she did get taken out by the other Madame Medusa, but that's okay. Sisu did her job. Her job is to take care of the early game. Late game, Sisu's not as great. That's when we want those bigger threats to come in, like the Cogsworth, the Stitch, and the Hades. But Sisu, I believe, got us maybe even 8 of this 14 lore, which is huge. And they play down their last card in hand, Madame Medusa. So at this point, we'll pause it one more time. So they have their 3 Madame Medusas on the board, but we have a huge lore advantage. They have no cards in hand compared to our 5. So the match is pretty much wrapped up at this point. Unless they happen to top deck something amazing. But even a board wipe isn't going to help them. Maybe a Maui, but we're in a pretty commanding position right now. And then they go ahead and resign. So there's our first game. We were able to maintain our card control just like we wanted. We were able to maintain decent control of the board as well. And that's what's going to help us win these games. All right, on to game 2. All right, so this time we are running against green and gray. So it's nice to know just a little bit about these colors before the game starts. They're likely going to be playing Ursula, kind of Steel Song kind of thing, where they want to double sing things with Ursula and then get out their bigger morph. They might be running morph into Beast or Tinkerbell or Robin Hood. These things can kind of help us with our opening hand, and as the game goes on. We are going second this time. So again, I'll pause it here. So just looking at our opening hand, we do have a much better array of things this time than the first game. We don't need 2 Sisus. Sisu is just one of her is usually fine for our opening hand. We did pull a lantern, so again, we should be able to get that Sisu down on turn 3, which is what we want to do. So most of these are probably going to get kept, is my guess. I am watching this without remembering what I did, but probably the Queen goes back in the deck, one of the Sisus, and that might be it for this one. So we're replaced by another Simba. We did get the Bare Necessities, so they could be running a whole new world. They could have swords. They could have a lot of other damage spells, which makes any matchup against steel probably the most important card in our deck is this guy right here, Cogsworth. This Cogsworth is going to protect our other characters against that and can't be targeted by their spells directly. We did draw another Queen. We can go ahead and get rid of that. We don't have a 1-drop this time, which makes our opening play a little bit slower, especially because we're playing a Lantern turn 2. So they have Bucky, so that we need to be careful about their discard. Go ahead and ink the Queen. Play out that Lantern. Sisu turn 3 is still great. They are using Hypnotize. Get rid of one of our cards. Go ahead and get rid of Maximus. So get out that Sisu just like we want. At least try to get one quest. Now if they do have Along Came Zeus, they could get rid of Sisu there, so that's a little bit of a risk. They're able to get down Jafar, which makes us discard a card. So we want card advantage, but we're working pretty hard not to. So we'll go ahead and take that Pawpsicle. And we have a tough decision here. So pause real quick. That Stitch is huge, but we also, the other option right there is the Bare Necessities in terms of inking it, which I prefer not to do because the plan is with 4 ink available, we want to get down our 3-costed Pongo, and then we can get down the Pawpsicle as well. Try to keep our hand a little bit more full, so that's why we go with the Stitch there. Keep that Bare Necessities just in case they have a whole new world or something of that nature. And then we're able to get down that Cogsworth, which does protect Sisu. I'm able to do 2 to her with Jafar, 1 with Robin Hood, and then Storm later on. That does kill her, but I'm okay with that because they just used so many resources just to get rid of 1 card. I realized I actually did mess up last turn too. I didn't get the I must have done, like I talked about the first time, the lantern. I probably didn't use the lantern, therefore I wasn't able to get the Pawpsicle down. They play a Helga Sinclair. I have to discard again. We are able to get Maximus, which is nice. It's a nice bodyguard to protect Sisu. And the big reason I went with Maximus in this deck, it doesn't matter in this matchup because there's no Ruby, but in Ruby, we have Madame Medusa that can take out any of the smaller bodyguards. Maximus has 4 attack, so can't be targeted by Madame Medusa. That's the reason why I chose him in this deck, as opposed to some of the other slightly smaller bodyguards. So now Sisu is protected, Cogsworth is protected. They're able to get Jafar down to get rid of that last card in my hand, but we have a pretty decent board out there. Our board definitely looks better than theirs in terms of power, and we are up 6-2. Let the Storm Rage on, only does 1 damage, so we're okay with that. They do quest, they're able to do 2 more, but again, keeping that card advantage. Got another Maximus. Lantern into Maximus, and now we can just continue to quest with these. Questing for 4 per turn when they're not able to fire back is a big deal in this game. That'll get you to 20 really fast. They are able to get their Ursula down, so they just sacrificed their Jafar on Maximus. They need to break through the bodyguard. We're able to get down Surfer Stitch. And now at this position in the game, it's pretty much over. They only have 2 cards in hand, only 4 to 15. So we're just finishing this out. So that's what they can do, is discard my hand, which isn't a big deal at this point. They resign, and that's the game. Now, if you did make it this far, please do me a favor and like and subscribe. And if there are any decks that you would like me to watch and review, I'd be happy to do that for you. Put them right here on the channel, and we'll see you again next time.